It's funny because I do this, I get asked to do this a lot at different treatment centers and stuff like that. And afterwards, every time I'm like, did that make sense? Was it good? Did people hear me? Did I, say a good message and stuff? So, yeah, what he read was true. I'll start when I was younger. From as far back as I can remember, 4 or 5 years old, I remember being sad and depressed. I remember feeling like I was different, like I was broken. I felt unlovable, unimportant, like just that I didn't belong. I had an older sister and a younger sister, and my dad was always gone. He was a truck driver. And here I was, this middle kid that I didn't feel like got much attention. So I just felt like that. Having those beliefs about me and those feelings about me, I see how they carried on into my adult life, my teenage years. Before I was 17, I did 2 years in programs, in and out of youth corrections, group homes, foster homes, wilderness boot camps. I think at 15, I had 2,000 community service hours because I wrecked a car, and just chaos. I remember thinking when I was a kid, like I didn't have a conscience. Like I didn't feel bad about doing things. I took from people, I hurt people, I did crazy stuff, crimes, and part of me just didn't feel bad about it, Going through my life, using drugs off and on, I'd gotten out of youth corrections when I was 17, and I was back in jail by 20, I had my first son. 19 years old, I just barely turned 19, was using. I was still a kid myself, I didn't know how to take care of a kid. I remember my oldest son was born, and their family, his mom's family said, "We don't expect anything from you." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't expect anything from me? I'm their dad. Like I'm going to show up, I'm going to do stuff, And it was a blow to me that that's what they said. Like it hurt really deep down that, if I'm the child's father, and you guys should expect things from me. You should expect me to show up and do my job. But in my mind, showing up and doing the job was just showing up and being the Disneyland dad, taking them on the weekends, amping them up on sugar and sending them home. Years and years of drug abuse. I won't go into much detail about the drug abuse, but it seemed like for 21 years I always used something. It didn't matter what it was. It was pain pills, meth, heroin, weed, alcohol, everything. When I was 12 years old, it was a pivotal moment for me. My grandpa died. My parents got divorced, and I was sexually abused by my friend's dad. And so it took me to this place of like, fuck the world. And I didn't like the world. I didn't want to be in it. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to escape from what I was. Looking back now, I can identify it, but I didn't want to deal with what was going on inside me. Being sexually abused, I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust men. For many, many years, it taught me to have those walls up and have them up for a long time. And that's what I did. I never let anybody in close enough, or the friends that I made, I was always only their friend to burn them. Eventually, I was going to get something over on them. I kept them at a distance and far enough away so that eventually I could burn you, I could steal from you, I could take from you, I could do something. I heard one time the whole point of the game is let me burn you before you burn me, because then I win. And that's kind of how it was growing up. There was a time in my life where my dad was a truck driver and a biker, and he would whoop my ass for doing anything, climbing on the roof, being a kid, crazy kid stuff, and I'd get my ass whooped. But he was also the type of person, when he was gone, like I would talk to him on the phone, and he'd be like, "You're screwing up. Like, I can tell, get your shit together." And so I didn't talk to him. For 2 years, I didn't talk to him. I didn't, birthdays, holidays, Father's Days, anything, Christmas, we just didn't talk. And I remember thinking one day, like, I don't even know why I'm not talking to my dad. Like, and I called him up and it was like, dude, I don't know what my deal is, but he said, it doesn't matter how you're doing. And we became best friends. He used to build choppers for a bunch of the motorcycle people and stuff, and he was always neutral. And he taught me, be neutral, always be your word. And we had plans the next summer to build some choppers and take off and go ride around the US and stuff like that. And I remember calling him one night, said, I'm going to the Slayer concert. And he was like, go punch a couple people in the head for me, and I was like, all right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Me and my dad finally had that relationship that we had talked every day, and we were building that healthy relationship where, what things we wanted to do and dreams we wanted to chase. And I got a call that next morning after the Slayer concert that my mom was bawling. And I was like, what's wrong, Mom? Like, what? She was trying to spit out, tell me, like, quit, and she said, your dad died in a semi-truck accident. And it felt like my heart was ripped out again. Here it was. I was reliving the pain from my grandpa dying. My grandpa was like my best friend because my dad was gone too. And so it was like reinforcing this thing, I can't get close to people because eventually they leave, or life happens and they leave. And it was bad, and I drank for a long time, a lot of alcohol, several DUIs. And that's how I coped with it, was get really, really drunk. So it just kind of sent me down spiral. I think he died about 18 years ago. I've had some cool spiritual experiences in my recovery to let me know that my dad is with me at all times. And it's a very cool thing to be present and to be able to feel him and feel his energy and be like, all right, I get it, you're here. All right, I'll listen, or I'll slow down, or stuff like that. But it really messed with me. I hear people's families here in recovery that, I haven't talked to my mom in a year. I haven't talked to my dad in a year or two. I'm like, what are you doing? They could be gone tomorrow. Who gives a shit about whatever you guys are disagreeing on? Call that person that you haven't talked to in a year. Who cares about the BS or whatever? I'm sure it's something stupid anyway. Get over it, call whoever in it. And hopefully, maybe there's some people that have taken that advice and called, because you don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna go, you know what I mean? A lot of crazy stuff, drugs, violence. I have so many stories where, like, I shouldn't be here today. In the recovery community, you hear that term, living on borrowed time. I truly believe I'm living on borrowed time. So every day I wake up, I try to do my best, do the next right thing. How can I be of service? How can I help people? I had suicide attempts, pretty bad ones. I scars and sliced up here. And I was at points, I was so sick of using drugs. I just wanted to stop, and that was the answer to me. I didn't think there was any way out. I honestly thought I was going to use drugs the rest of my life. They were bad. There was a couple times they had to give me blood transfusions to keep me alive. And I had blacked out. There's a couple times in my addiction, I went blind in my left eye about 9 years ago, and I was driving down the road making a left-hand turn. I'd been up for like 7 days, huge amount of drugs in the trunk, and I was making a left-hand turn. The sun was setting, and it was super bright, so I hurried and went to turn. And right when the sun got out of my eyes, I noticed there was two ladies in a crosswalk, and I'd hit them doing like 10, 15 miles an hour. Their drinks went all over my car. I pulled over and called 911, said I just hit somebody. And I don't know why they didn't drug test me. I don't know why they didn't search my car. I should be sitting in prison for 20 years, 10 years, whatever they give people that hit people. you know, with drugs. You know, I've had some friends that have done a lot of years for similar stuff in prison. And the only thing that happened to me was they wrote me a driving on suspension ticket and an accident involving pedestrians, and I got to walk away. You know, I look back on those experiences. I have so many more experiences like that my higher power was looking, I have a job to do today. And I don't know how many more chances like that I'm going to get. So I vowed every day to get up, make the best of my days, you know, every single day. I went to rehab. My clean date's June 10th, 2016. And I went to rehab to learn how to manage my addiction. And because I was scared of going to prison, I didn't want to quit drugs. I thought somehow, some way, maybe I was gonna, with one shoe on, with the wind blowing from 5 miles from the north, with people on Tuesday night, then I could use drugs, you know? Like somehow I could manage it. And I was on APMP in 2 different counties. I was in DCFS drug court, and I was on ankle monitor and in rehab, and thought my ideas were still the best. You know? I don't know if there was another program I could have got on. I knew I got help. DCFS had taken my 2 oldest kids, and my mom stepped in and saved them from going into foster care. The whole time I was telling DCFS, hey, I want custody of my kids. I want a chance. Give me a chance. And they laughed at me. They chuckled. They were like, huh, okay, yeah. And I was like, what's funny? Like, I'm serious. I want a chance for my kids. And they were like, Cody, you were the last person we're going to stick your kids with. And it hit home because I had looked at my record and looked at my past, and the list of things I did was pages long that I had to do to even be considered. You know what I mean? Just to even be in my kid's life, I had to do 2 pages of things. And I wasn't being considered. They came to me at 6 months clean and said, you are not getting custody of your kids. Like, we're not doing that. We're pushing reunification with their mom. And it was a hard blow because they were my drive the whole time. At 6 months, I was like, okay, why am I doing this? And I made a decision right then, no matter what, I wasn't going to attach my kid to my recovery. I wasn't going to attach my recovery to anything. It didn't matter what job I had, where my kids were at, what was going on. My recovery was going to be my recovery. It was going to be separate from everything externally. And it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. And decided no matter what. And I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I remember when I was in rehab, because my ideas were still the best, you know. I was ripping up write-ups, swearing at staff, cursing out the owners, and smoking cigarettes. And at the time, it was a no-smoking facility. And finally, they pulled me in after 30 days and said, we're going to have to ask you to leave. You're not doing our program. You're still doing your program. And I remember bawling and just thinking my kids are going to suffer, my poor kids. And so I got kicked out. A bishop put me up in a hotel for a couple nights, and I was around my kids. DCFS found out I was around my kids, and they said, you can't be around your kids. You just got kicked out of rehab. Like, you're still a danger to them. So I went to the hotel room. As long as I was around my kids, I was okay. As soon as I got to that hotel room, I wasn't okay with Cody. I hadn't done any internal work. And I called drugs and women over my problems, you know, drugs and women. Relationships and chaos to me was just as much of an addiction as drugs were. It was something that I could escape from. That relapse, it was cool and I'm grateful. That was the last time I used drugs. When I came, luckily they called me and said, just come back. So I went back to that place, and they made me stay in an apartment for 3 days. I don't know and they gave me a book to read, or I had somebody go get me a book or something. I can't remember because I was in there all by myself. And I don't know if it was the drugs leaving my body or spiritual experience. Maybe it was both, but it was like my ego surrendered and laid on the floor. You know, it was really, really cool experience. And at that moment, I became willing to do anything. If somebody said read a book, okay. If somebody said, write this paper, do this homework, do this, do that, take this class, okay. Every idea I had ever had had led me to that hotel room again, getting high. And so I just became willing, signed up this, it's insane the stack of certificates I have. They're like that thick. It's insane. I have like a folder of all of them and all the letters of recommendation and cool stuff. A year later, my kids, DCFS said to me, do you still want custody of your kids? And I was like, well, yeah, because that's the right thing I'm supposed to say, right? Because that's what dads are supposed to say. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I got a house and got placement with my kids, and my kids didn't love me, they didn't respect me, they didn't appreciate me, they didn't trust me, but I gave them every reason not to. One of the most freeing experiences has been my 2 teenage boys. At 2 years clean, my 15, and I think he was 14 at the time, but he said, Dad, I'm still waiting for the day that you don't come home. And I was like, part of me wanted to say, oh wait, look at me now, I'm doing good. But part of me was just like, wow, it was a huge wake-up call that's still in the back of his mind. Another time, he said, Dad, you remember when you didn't show up for my 8th birthday? I said, yeah. He said, that was fucked up. You're right, it was. And just letting him feel that, and letting him tell me how I affected him, and not wanting to change it, was a pretty cool experience. You know, I was a person that the state and everybody told me, stay away from your kids, you're a freaking danger to them. And last year in November, so almost a year ago, I got a call. I have 2 daughters that lived in South Carolina. I moved out there because I tried the geographical change. Oh, I'll go out there and get a fresh start. I found worse people. I found, and so I moved back, but I got a call that my ex had been arrested for 2 first-degree felonies. And it was crazy. So I flew out there, got the daughters, asked the family, what's the best, what should we do? They said, we need you to take the girls. So I took them back. Here I am, a single dad, taking care of 4 kids. Like, I was the dad that they said, stay away from my kids. And today I'm able to sit down and talk with them, have meaningful conversations with them. I can sit down and say, are you guys happy? And they're like, what? That's a weird question, Dad. I'm like, why are you guys making it weird? I don't remember my dad asking me if I was happy. So I tried to do that a little bit better. When I was I heard this very early in my recovery, and it was, just because there's movement doesn't mean there's momentum. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I'll say it again. Just because there's movement doesn't mean there's momentum. So I started searching, what does that mean? For me, it means make every day count. Make every interaction count. Make everything count. And the work that I do today gives me the momentum for tomorrow. I wake up out of bed. Some nights I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I have insomnia. My brain doesn't ever shut off. But I jump up and I got shit to do. I got people to help. I want to change the world. Another thing that was huge in my recovery was I decided when I got out of rehab, I need a purpose. I need a purpose. I didn't have hope. I didn't think I could make it. I hated this world. I tried dying. I caused chaos wherever I went. And my purpose today is to let you guys know there's hope. There's a different way. There's a solution. And to help people like us, or us addicts, or even people that aren't addicts, that there's a different way. There's a solution. Grateful for Addicts Fighting Back. I could get to be a part of that. I get to be a part of so many other programs. One more story and I'll end. I had a mentor of mine, a good friend of mine. He worked for Utah Legal Services. And he asked me, hey, a position for the Board of Trustees came up. I want you to apply for that job. What the hell? Here's this ex-criminal, ex-drug dealer that couldn't say, and I got the opportunity to apply to be on the Board of Trustees for Utah Legal Services. Come to find out a month later, I didn't get the job. But I just had the opportunity. I never thought I'd be a person with the opportunity to apply to be on a board of a foundation for Utah to help people legally and stuff like that. I hope I get more opportunities. Maybe in a year, another opportunity like that will come up. But yeah, today I get to be my worth, and I get to be my word, and I get to help people, and I get to be the light of this world. Today I choose love, light, and trust first. That's how I get different results. Because in my addiction, I chose hate, chaos, destruction, distrust. everything. So today, and it's a choice for me. I wake up, how can I spread light? How can I trust? And how can I love a little harder and deeper today? Thanks, that's all I got.